What's going on, Dynamic Character Productions? We are back. This isn't an exit interview because we are talking to the winner today. I'm one of the hosts, Lauren, along with my co-host, McKenna, and the person that's been with us all season long, Lily, with the most amazing questions. Might I add, it's been great. But Brett, the winner of season 3, Iririki Islands, is here, ready to spill all the tea, and I am so excited for this. Brett, how are you doing?
I'm pretty chill. Just had some celery sticks. It was great. Just living life, excited to answer some questions.
So proud my draft pick got the win for this season. So
I watched that and I understand. That is one thing. Ian was very against me in the draft. And I was like, why? You don't know me. But
do it for the gays.
No, because my responses were very bland and I didn't know how to really respond. But I understand why he was skeptical, and most people would, because no one knows me. But did I put them wrong?
Yeah, I also wanted to take you away from Greg. Greg, one of our production members, reached out to Brett to sign up to play. So I knew he was coming after me in the draft. I was like, you know what?
I love Greg.
I'm going to take Brett away. So
we're like secret BFF.
The rest of the world isn't in on it.
But we've hung out twice.
They might be because 5 years ago. They might be because I think in the bloopers you come into a room with Greg and it's like, hi Greg, and then just leave.
I remember that. I do remember that. That was funny.
Well, speaking of the scrambles, I guess we'll briefly touch on pre-merge, mostly the realigning of the tribes when you get put on a tribe and Tom doesn't join you. We talked about it in Tom's exit interview. So now I want to know, did that change how you felt about Tom when he chose the other tribe?
It did change because I was offended, more personally offended. I don't know why. I was like, we don't really know each other. So I'm like, why didn't you choose me? I don't think it was to the level of even he's threatened to me. I thought it was maybe he doesn't like me as a person. But I thought maybe I was screwed, but it's hard to really remember the pre-merge. I remember being irritated by that though, but clearly it meant nothing. I was gunning for Tom the whole time though.
Yes.
Were you?
He's the somebody you root for in Survivor who rarely wins because they're so likable, but he's somebody that you need to get out early or they're going to win.
Yeah, that's true. If you could have picked your original Jack Deck members to be on the next tribe with you, who would you have picked when it was in the split? Did you have anybody you were leaning towards?
Well, so I love James. I don't know. There's something about him. I think he's adorable too.
Yeah.
So I think there's something about James who I love, and Vinny too.
So Vinny, you lucked out then on that swap.
Yeah. So both of us. As the game went on, I've never spoken to JS, but there's something about JS that I actually like. I mean, we'll get into that later. So maybe I would have now rather been with JS, but there was nothing. I always thought Celestina, I said, was mysterious. I don't know. There was something up with her. Not in a bad way. Just what are you thinking?
Reader.
JM, no comment. Literally none. I did not want to be with JM. Nothing personal though. Love JM.
Game-wise, very frantic. As you can see in all the confessionals, they just come in and leave.
And then I think Tom would have been nice, but I think Tom was probably the smartest one to dump me.
See, I'm surprised you didn't want to keep Tom as a shield. I could see you and Tom working together, and you keep him as he's controlling the game a little bit. Keep him in so no one sees me. Not that you needed a shield, but
he had Garrett blinding right there.
It's interesting. Shields are interesting. Was interesting in this game because when I was rewatching this whole thing, like after I won, I thought I actually played like a good game. And but then I'm rewatching it and I'm seeing people's like reactions and I see how they look at me. They look at me as someone who's like not really playing, like not threatening. But I thought completely different. And my point is that Bill was like my shield. And I don't think he should have been a shield. He wasn't good. He was borderline terrible. But again, no offense, you're awesome. But in the game, I don't see how people thought he was like this, like a good player. So he was a shield. I guess my point is that Tom could have been a shield, but like I don't know who was shields. Like people might not have thought Tom was a shield because people thought Bill was like good.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting because it's all about perspective on who people see as a threat. You know, the only reason Bill gets voted out over you in Final Four is because Celestina saw Bill as a threat going into Final Tribal, where she thought that, you know, she might have had a better chance against you, whereas some other players might have thought the opposite way. So it is kind of interesting to think about.
I agree. It was Garrett too. But I knew that's why I wanted to get JM out, because honestly, JM is the prototype bring to the end, you auto win. But
the way that they were playing that specific game, yes, I agree that it wasn't.
Yes, but I know JM has won before, so I think it might have just been this game. I'm sure they
actually this was their first, so they have learned from how they played this game.
So I think they would be better. But in this specific game, I was like, for some reason, they think Bill is like so good, so like we need to keep him around. Let's convince them to keep Bill, and it ended up working. Like if Bill went out and JM didn't, I would have been gone. They would have kept JM over me rather than Bill leaving.
I think that was one of your smartest moves, was that JM boot, thinking that one step ahead, that you had Bill as your buffer, because Garrett and Bill already had that little tiff and you could use that as a later next vote.
That's why it's so different for when you're playing from like not like when you're playing from the bottom, it's so different than when you're playing from the top.
Yeah, because I think you had one of, you know, the best games I think we've seen on our channel so far, of just being able to be that controlling in some votes, but nobody saying your name actually to like go out.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll give a compliment now to someone that I think JS, I don't know if this question will come up, but if the question does come up, who do I think played the best? I think JS was secretly the best because there was a difference. JS and Garrett, I don't think Garrett played that good of a game. I think he was very flashy. The whole idol thing was ridiculous. He didn't have an idol. We knew it. Like, we knew he didn't have an idol. Stop joking. We're not voting for you at certain times. But he won immunities. So I do think he played a good game in that way. But I think people think Garrett's strategy was good, and it wasn't. He was just like I said, a Looney Tune who won immunity. So I don't think Garrett played that well. He was just fun to watch. He reminded me like of a Tony. But Tony you know how Tony like plays crazy and then somehow ends up winning? Yeah. But like, it's not like they're playing that great. But I think JS was so subtle with it. Every time I spoke to him, he's like, and even in his interview things, he was like trying to like put people away from him, like, oh, I'm gonna throw this challenge because and I think if he didn't land on that spinny thing, I think he would have made it far, if not won, because it was getting smaller to the point where like I would have had to work with him, or it would have been like I would have never worked with Garrett because Garrett was so threatening and he would have won. But in my mind, I would have been like, oh, people won't vote for JS. Yeah. And I would have kept him around. So I think JS, I think JS, Garrett would have definitely swept. He would have, I don't think he should have, but I think he would have.
Well, we talked about with Garrett, I think the best final two would have been you and him, where I think it would be a scrape for some votes for both of you.
I think he would have swept, because he's just, it would have been like, I don't even know. It was like unless I pulled like a Michelle Aubrey type thing where it's like, what the hell? How did that person win? But it seems like the jury people enjoyed Garrett the most, and he was like the underdog, and he was, again, I view things differently than like some people, so I think he would have swept 100%, but I thought I would have beat probably anyone except him and maybe Tom.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it's interesting, because it all comes down to like how people perceive things, because I will say tons of juries enjoy flashy gameplay, but also some juries think that could be a little arrogant and too much in their face. So it just ultimately depends who's sitting there and making the votes, because some people think one game's a winning game, but then they'll go watch another season and say, I would never have voted for that person. But it's just interesting to hear your perception of like how you would have figured in or factored your vote if you were on the jury.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have probably voted for Garrett unless it was JS. But the problem with JS is it wasn't until I rewatched it where I thought he was this good, you know? Like when I was in the game, I just thought he was some quiet guy. That's why I would have brought him to the end. And that's why I don't even know if he would have beaten me. But after rewatching it, I'm like, ooh, he was better. But when I watch Survivor, I always root for the underdog. I don't even care if I originally hate them. I end up loving them because they're the underdog.
Yeah.
I think
Evie, by the way, I'm obsessed with Evie. Me and Eric got what is it, a cameo for someone for Evie. Obsessed. She left it was a 5-minute cameo. She's an underdog who I love, but that's an underdog who I think deserves to win. I don't think Garrett would have won, is my point.
I have a theory that people would pick the winners at the end of who they thought reflected their own game, if that makes sense. So I can see how you think JS would have won because he also played a similar game to you, right? Whereas somebody like Tom, who thinks he's playing an underdog, might vote for Garrett at the end because Garrett was the underdog. I think oftentimes people's perceived best games are the ones that they also play, which I think is how it should be, because you want to be playing the game you think that is the best. You know what I mean? So I think it's really interesting to compare everybody's game in and out of the game.
I just think it's, even in the game of Survivor, in real life, that it's so much easier to vote for someone who's flashy because you could see what they're actually doing. Mm-hmm. But when someone's I can't think of an example, but when someone is so, maybe that's why Aubrey lost. When someone's so subtle about it and they're not flashy, but they're so good, that's why I don't think I had a chance, because no one was looking at, why did Brett vote out JM and keep Bill? No one's thinking of that. They're like, wow.
But that is a subtle move that you could explain out and be like, this is the reason. The JM boot seems very typical, straightforward, nothing flashy. But then your reasoning behind it is so in depth, because you're placing yourself 2 steps further.
I agree. It's not, Garrett's a nice guy, so I think that also helps. I mean, he could come off as a bit fratty or douchey, but he's still an all-around nice guy.
Yeah.
No, not douchey in a bad way.
No, he called himself douchey. It's fine. I know. I'm just saying douchey.
Right. I'm just laughing because I would expect nothing less from you in this interview because you just lay it all out there.
And it's funny because I'm sober. See, that's what's funny, because people are like, oh, how would Brett, I think that was how would Brett play if he was sober? I'm like, it would have been the same. I'm not, it's alcohol might even make it worse because I become delirious. But I'm still like that, like weird person who's like just out there, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm guessing if you could, would you change anything about your game if you could, or would you keep it? I mean, you won, so there's not much you would want to change.
No, but it you know, it would have been interesting maybe in future games. I don't know, the spinning wheel, because like I feel like I won, but like I wonder if they didn't get out on the spin wheel. Like maybe if there was like some type of challenge and the person who loses gets out, because the spin wheel, it's just so unlucky. And I want to like, because I feel like the people who got out.
Don't go to rocks. Don't tie the boat.
That was so, when JM was like, oh, I wanted to go to rocks. I'm like, are you an idiot? Like, no one wants to go to rocks. Like, what is up?
Yeah. And you were almost out on rocks.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I know I got almost out twice. So it's like, I could have been in a complete different situation, but no, I wouldn't have changed anything. That wall sit helped.
Yeah, you have our longest wall sit record so far out of our 3 seasons, so
you know, it's crazy because I don't know, maybe it's all the Peloton I do, but I wasn't gonna drop. I was numb and I just wasn't gonna drop. So but JM was saying they were going to win, and I don't know. I kind of want to like.
The reunion. We are having a wall sit battle.
You can keep your record. You can keep your record. Let them battle for it.
No, you have to defend your title.
It's a great workout though, so I might think about it.
All right.
I honestly, I think we have 4 people on the list. I believe so. And honestly, defend your title. You have to try.
Oh, I will.
Because it's JS, JM,
Bill.
Yeah. I mean, we can ask to see if anybody else who's at the reunion wants to participate, but those are the 3 that have claimed if they had made it to the wall sit, they are winning it. So.
I'm thinking about that. If you all told Garrett and like it was going to be a final 2, would he have brought Bill? Because like we were all thinking that it was going to be a wall sit, and I'm like, Bill was not going to win. Like, no offense.
He won the first endurance challenge. Holding the bottle out, he was the one who won that challenge.
That's different.
Bill has claimed that Bill can hold a 5-minute wall sit.
I want to be proved wrong. So I
all right.
Now I'm curious.
Tune into the reunion for the wall sit comp.
Oh my gosh.
So you win the wall sit, which guarantees you a final 2. Was there somebody that wasn't there that you would have rather have gone up against other than Celestina or your other option, Garrett? Was there somebody else you would have wanted?
I feel like you know my answer. It was clearly JM. JM was always my bring to the end person. I think Celestina was the second. You know, I didn't think she had a chance against me, but it's such a short game, and people's perspectives are so different, and she is so nice, and I completely forgot that she initiated the whole Vinny thing. So honestly, when I brought her to the end, I thought she was like auto win, but when I rewatched them, like she actually played a very good game. Like she was very comparable to me.
Yeah, I'd say you were pretty even. I think you had a slight edge because I think you won 2 immunities.
But she really initiated that Vinny. But
100%.
When I was rewatching it, I was like, if she just lied and said that she was fake crying,
she would have gotten like 2 more votes.
She would have won, because I would have been like, I would have voted for her, because I'm like, wow, that's so diabolical. But but she didn't lie, and she actually cried. And I was like, oh. I wasn't thinking about that then, but like when I was rewatching, I was like, I'm glad she didn't lie. He's just that nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think I think it was final 7, when Bill in a confessional says, I think Brett's running the show, and I think Celestina is right there in his pocket. I mean, that's so far early in the game for him to call the final two. Did you ever think that Bill was going after you at all?
I was shocked people weren't going after me at all. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
also I don't know why they thought me and Celestina were like a duo. I know JM thought the same thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if there was one person that I really never worked with until like the very end, it was Celestina. We just were never working together. So I'm like, how wrong were they thinking that we were working together? But I'm like, if that's what they were, but again, perspectives are
I
very
think
intriguing.
For me, where I saw you guys as a duo was just after the Tom boot, because she was left out of that Tom boot, but then you guys both, I'm pretty sure, voted like the same way the rest of the time. So it just seemed like you guys were voting the same way and always talking together.
Maybe
about, like,
I think we were in the same group. I don't know if we were like a duo.
Yeah.
Like how maybe JS and Garrett were, but I
Right.
don't think.
And I think your
it's hard to
group
be
just started
duo.
to get picked off. So that left you as a duo. So like you have the
Exactly.
bigger group and then you lose a couple.
Exactly. But yes. I mean, if I could compliment two people, it would be Celestina and JS. Those would be the two that after rewatching, I genuinely think played a very good game and I think deserved to win besides me, of course. But I think I like the way that they play more. I think strategy is more important. I like strategy more than flashy. I mean, that's just me personally, but I think they played the best games.
I guess a question I have is, what would you have done if you were in Garrett's shoes and you came in at the bottom and no one was talking? Do you think you still wouldn't have gone the flashy route?
It's so tough because
it is, yeah.
Because I would have done what JS did, but you need a Garrett for JS to succeed.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
need someone to like
take the heat off of you.
So I think if it's tough. I don't want to be like, I don't know. I think if there was a Garrett already like being Garrett, I probably would do what Jay did. But if there were no Garrett and I saw that I was like screwed, I would like ask around. But if I knew that I'm like self-aware sometimes. So I don't blame Garrett, but
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think about that until about 5 seconds ago when you asked.
I think you were sort of in that middle ground of, you didn't feel on the top of Dak because you had been separated, because you had swapped onto Woda, but you kind of just like forced your way to the majority and to the win, where you weren't a name being thrown out. So I think that is from your perception of what I got in the game, you thought you were on the bottom of Dak. Let's switch this up.
Yeah, I think it was definitely nice that Garrett and Jay would work with anyone. And a lot of it is luck, because you need to get in a room with someone and be very quick. And luckily I got in a room with Jay and Garrett and got out Tom. And when Tom was gone, it was kind of like a free-for-all at that point. And then Vinny's like internet was going off, and that was just a reason to get Vinny out. And then I mean, Garrett would have been out a lot earlier if JM just wasn't
voted
bad.
them out. Yeah.
Again, bad at this game, not at other ones. I'm sure they are fantastic in other games.
It is something to your game that your name isn't brought up, even when you don't win immunity at the Vinny vote off, the JS rock draw, like your name isn't even brought up. All of these instances where watching it, you're like, oh my gosh, Brett is like
Brett's here. Like,
why was nobody voting for me?
You did something right. You did something right.
No, I think. You just were. Yeah, I think McKenna's right. Like, you were just in that perfect sweet spot of like, being in the deciding vote and having a say without people putting it to you throughout the game until the end when you could say, oh yeah, I did that. You know what I mean? It was, you hit that sweet spot. And I think that's, not many people do that. And not every winner does that either.
It's interesting. I know when I was playing the game, I was like, why did I not get like one vote until the end? Also, I want to retract during the when we were giving our final speeches, I said that Celestina got one vote. She didn't. She got no votes. But yeah, because when I rewatched it, I'm like, wait, she didn't get any votes. I was the liar. I guess you could lie about that in like anything. Like I could be like, no, you got 3 votes. You're a liar. And then they need to defend themselves. So I guess that wasn't bad.
Tip for future players.
Tip for future players. Lie.
You forget it so long that you're saying to yourself, did I get a vote? Did I not? It's just,
yeah.
No, I was so tired. I had no idea.
Well, if you could play another org or real survivor with anybody from this cast, who would you pick and why?
I would James, because I know James does orgs and I would love to do it with James. I see it was when I was in the game, I genuinely thought me, Vinny, and James were like tight. And then I'm rewatching and Vinny's like calling me a snake. And I'm like, I guess we weren't as tight. And James didn't even like think of me at all. And I was like, I'm so sad. I love James and Vinny. And it's like they thought so different of me. And but again, we've just met each other. It's but I would probably I would like to do it with James and Vinny, but if I had to pick one, it would be James.
Okay.
I like his personality. I like funny people.
He's a lot of fun.
You need someone that you can like feel comfortable with and like go back and forth. So I could see like y'all like being good energies together.
Exactly. I liked his vibe. That's why I didn't like when he got out at the spinning wheel. I'm like, what could have happened?
Well, we know James was gonna link up with Garrett, so I don't know if you
I'm glad it didn't happen.
Alrighty, well, we can transition over to Facebook questions. Our first question comes from our last winner that we had of the long game, Alex Cousins. Brett, congrats on your win and welcome to the Epic Winner Circle. Who do you vote for between Celestina and Garrett if you were the final boot?
It would really, after rewatching, I'm not even kidding, vote for Celestina just because there was something about Garrett. I just did not like that, but I would have voted for Garrett because I didn't really watch, and I really liked the Vinny move because she really initiated it and she didn't have to. I would have ended up voting for Garrett though because he was so flashy and I was like drunk.
What if it was Celestina and Bill? Let's say
Celestina, 100%. I wouldn't even listen to what Bill said.
Oh my God! But Bill's a lawyer. He can talk. He can out of things.
That's great that he's a lawyer. That is awesome. Actually, very, very good skill. I wonder what kind of law. Maybe I'll need him one day. No,
I do think one of the best moves you did in the game was keeping Bill as a shield. Whether it like makes sense or not, I think to everybody else, they wanted to get Bill out. And I think that's what helped you kind of stay quiet.
I think Bill is very smart and I think he's very strategic. Like, I think if he played Survivor on like CBS, I think he would actually be very good. He's like very intelligent. But again, this game is hard when it's short. You need to find the right rooms. He linked up with Tom. Tom left. So when I was like saying Bill, I don't think he played the best game in this game, but I think out of every single person, I think he is like one of the smartest. And I think if everyone in this game played 10 games, I think he would play the best, the most. Just it's this specific one that I think.
He was saying in his exit interview that he was having one of the tougher times relating to people because the cast was so lower in age than he was. So like there were some things that he, like some artists that he had never heard of, some video games that he hadn't heard of. So like I think he felt his most struggle with trying to connect with this cast as opposed to some other ones.
Yeah, I don't think he played I don't know if I said it in the past in this interview, but I don't think he played a bad game. I only think some people played bad games. I just don't think he was so much better than me that he should be a shield. But like, I still think he played well. Also, to go back to a question, who I would want to play with again, I forgot about her, Meredith. Obsessed. I love Meredith. I would have kept her in a heartbeat and been her best friend. But, I don't know.
The numbers weren't looking that way.
Yeah,
awesome.
She does have a good energy. She's good energy. Yeah.
If only you had Tom on WOTA, then you would have been able to use Meredith to get Tom out.
Oh, I know.
And keep Meredith around.
I really liked her. I was like, hey, let's just hang out. But I had to. There was literally no other way. I'm like, I had to get you out. So yeah, Meredith is someone I would play with again.
That's a good pick.
Now JM has some stuff they want to say. Brett, we haven't talked much, so I do have some questions. All love and no hard feelings, but did you ever think some of the things you said at Final Tribal lost you votes, which could have cost you the game, like calling me less threatening, or some people kept voting for Bill? I highly considered voting for you until then.
I think, it's tough with that because I mean, at that point I wasn't going to lie, but I think I wanted to make the jury know my reasoning of getting Jay out over Bill and why it was like a big deal, like why it wasn't just, oh, get Jay out. Like I wanted a reason, like, hey, he's a good person. They're a good person to bring to the end. But I kept someone who was more threatening because of a shield. But I mean, I don't regret saying it. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I should have kept you because you were an auto win. So I should have, but I didn't. So you should be grateful that you were not kept.
The next question is, do we have a tally on how many glasses of wine you drank?
I drank the full bottle. So I'm pretty, which honestly, with my tolerance, that is nothing. I need 2 bottles. No, I probably had like four glasses. It was Prosecco, if anyone cares. Ooh. I don't know what kind, but it was good.
Love Prosecco. It's a good pick.
Obsessed with Prosecco.
Okay. Then we have how many votes do you think you would have gotten against Garrett from Ian? He asked Garrett the same question.
I would have lost. I could say that. And if I put money on it, like if I was a gambler, I would probably have been swept. But I think maybe I would have gotten like 2 votes. And I don't know actually, because James knew Garrett, so I would have gotten James. I thought maybe Vinny, but probably not. I most likely would have been swept. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Garrett was saying you would have gotten 2 or 1 votes.
Oh yeah, I would have been swept, but again, it's because he was flashier, but I didn't have to be flashy. That's the thing. Like there was no chance for me. There was nothing that I could do in such a short time because I didn't have to be flashy. What did I do? So we played completely different games. So if you're going to vote for someone who is flashier, like, that's just more fun. But yes, he would have. So I would have never brought him to the end. Like that would have been an auto loss. Like I don't understand that people are like, oh, I want to bring the competitor to the end to show that I'm not scared. I'm like, why would you ever do that?
The only way you do that is if you think you lose against both other people. Then it's like, oh, I brought the biggest threat. You try and spin that, but yeah.
My dilemma was if I was nervous if I brought Celestina to the end and I lost, I would have been like, wow. And I would have been pretty angry. But if I lost to Garrett, I would have been like, true, makes sense. But like, I'm like, I'll take my chance with Celestina.
We have a question from Kylie. Brett, why are you the best Survivor player ever of all time? And also, would you still have won if you didn't drink a whole bottle of wine? Yes or no?
I think if I didn't drink the whole bottle of wine, I might have been more tired. I think I still would have won, but I would have been more tired. And I don't remember the first part, but I need everyone to know how amazing Kylie is as a person. I love her. I'm actually going to Nashville for a bachelor party, but it's really to hang out with Kylie. I'm not even kidding. I love her. Yeah, but wine helps. Wine really helps.
I mean, you are the third mini winner that we have had that has had many a glass of wine. So if you would like to win any of our minis, please indulge in a glass of wine. You just might win that season. So
it makes you loose, and like when you're playing for a while, like it makes it even more entertaining. You're like, woo! But obviously, like if I were on an island, like I don't have wine, so it'd be different. I would need Xanax. If they can't give me Xanax, I cannot be on it. I'm kidding.
We have something from Steven. Brett, congrats on the win. Was there ever a moment in the game where you felt like the vote would be going toward you and you would be going home?
Honestly, all the time. That's why I was shocked that I didn't get any votes. I feel like everyone has to think that it's gonna come to them sometimes. There were almost.
Was there a particular vote where you were like, it's like I'm not getting anything? It's gotta be me getting something.
So I never thought it. Obviously, the last vote when Bill was gone, I didn't think that I was gonna get it. But I think before Bill and JM, those two votes, I was like, I might be screwed. But then when I was listening to people talk, I was like, how are they not saying my name? Like, are people, but then I rewatched and people view me as less threatening. That's just how it is. So it's, I viewed myself differently than how other people viewed me.
Yeah. We talked to Garrett about it, the main character syndrome, right? You're the main character of your own story. Exactly.
Garrett probably thinks he had the best game ever. I don't think he played that well. So it's very different. But he was kind of forced into it as I was forced into like not being flashy well, not forced into it, but he was forced into flashy, and JS was lucky that he was the subtle one.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the Facebook questions.
All right, Brett, we like to end all of our exit interviews with the same question, and that is, if you could sum up your game in one word, what would it be and why?
Brett, before you answer, there's one correct answer, and I hope you say it.
Pressure.
I was gonna say sass. What was it?
A winner.
No,
I like sass though.
I was gonna say subtle, like subtle. That would be
subtly sassy, because we only got that in we only got the sass in the confessionals. So if this would have been, I think, the sassiest season of all time.
Or I think I just said that to say it, but I think excitement would be it, because I think now I'm just saying why, but like I think a lot of playing these games is to have fun and show excitement, because I've watched some seasons where it's like people don't seem as excited and it's kind of a turnoff. So it's like, I'm gonna vote this person out. So I think showing enthusiasm, like excitement, is definitely important for future winners.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
And no offense to anyone, I really do love everyone. I honestly just speak my mind. So if you made it to the end of this, like, genuinely love everyone. JM will have a coffee one day. I'm addicted to coffee. Problem.
They asked, I was gonna mention it off air, but they asked when you guys were going for your coffee or drink and putting you on the spot for that. So
listen, I will gladly have coffee if we don't talk about why I voted you out, because we already got that. Like, we already went through it. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Alrighty, Lauren, take us home.
Brett, thank you so much for playing. And yes, join the winner's circle. It's great. Glad you made it here. And I will say to everybody else, please check out everything we have going on our YouTube page, Dynamic Character Productions. Like and subscribe to everything. And be sure to check everything out on the Facebook page where we have content, and more content. It's great. It's a great group of people. So many people make amazing connections and friendships from these games. So be sure to check out everything that we have going on. Again, as always, I'm Lauren. That's McKenna. That's Lily. There's our winner, Brett. Thank you again, Brett.
Only 2 more episodes dealing with Iririki Island. We have the recap and the reunion, so stay tuned.